This video is on types of graphs. There are three major types of graphs that we are going to use this year in chemistry. They are line graphs, bar graphs, and circle graphs. So line graphs and bar graphs have a set of different things that we need to always include when we make our graph. So the first one is they're going to have two different variables. They're going to have an independent variable and a dependent variable. An independent variable is a variable that stands alone. The dependent variable, this depends on the independent variable. So it's going to move based upon your independent variable. So your independent variable is what you control running the experiment. The dependent variable is what changes based upon the independent variable. So let's say we're looking at a plant. In our flower, we want it to bloom. And so we need to add water to our plant. So we have our container and we are going to add water droplets to our container to see if our seed will grow. In order for our seed to grow, it needs water. We want to know how much. So what we're controlling is the amount of water we are adding. So that's our independent variable. The height at which our plant grows is our dependent variable. It's dependent upon the amount of water that is added. When you're making a line graph or bar graph, we have to graph them. And the y-axis is going to be along the vertical line. The x-axis is going to be the bottom line. The x-axis is your dependent variable. Is your independent variable. Independent variable. And your y-axis is your dependent variable. So in this case, looking at our flower growing, for our different amounts of water, we would then plot how tall it grew. So maybe a small amount of water, it grew a little bit, then a larger amount of water, it grew taller, and then more water, even taller. So then we could show our trend. So our independent variable is our x-axis, our dependent variable is the y-axis. When we're drawing our graph, we want to make sure that our graph is really big. We want it to show very easily to our reader what trend we're trying to find. So if I give you a piece of graph paper, your graph should take up the entire graph paper. You want to make your axes nice and long. They want to be evenly distributed along the line. So go by 5s or 10s or whatever you need to do to fill up your entire axes. The spacing on your x-axis and your y-axis does not have to be the same. Our three different graphs are used for three different reasons. A line graph is going to show changes that occur in related variables. So that would be an example would be our flower and the amount of water that it needs. A bar graph is used for comparing a set of measurements, amounts, or changes. And a circle graph is going to show how a part relates to a whole. Here's another example of our line graph. Here we are looking at age in years compared to the number of teens who own a cell phone. So, the number of 16-year-olds that owned a cell phone, we go up and over. We see that there's 430 16-year-olds in this town that own a phone. The number of 14-year-olds that own a phone is 273. 18 is 530. So here they're looking to see, we have our independent variable, the years, compared to our dependent variable, the number of teens who own a cell phone. Notice that our title describes what our graph is showing. The next one is our bar graph. Here we have types of animals at the bottom and the number of people at the top. Our title says, what kind of pet do you own? The number of people that own a rabbit is 4, because we look at our bar and it's up to the 4. The number that own a dog, we go up and we said there's 8. Cats are 11. Goldfish looks to be about 6. and a hamster about 5. So again here, we're looking to see what kind of pet do you own. So we have our pets, and then the number of people that own that pet. Then finally we have our circle graph. Here, remember, a circle graph is the part out of a whole. So our title is telling us our favorite pizza toppings. The options are pepperoni, cheese, sausage, and supreme. Notice that there is a key here to let us know what the colors mean in our circle. Here it's easy to see that 50% of the people prefer pepperoni, whereas 25% like cheese, 15% like sausage, and 10% like supreme. In the boxes at the bottom of your notes, go ahead and just sketch what a general idea of each one of these graphs look like. It does not have to be in detail of the ones given, but just generally that you have your lines. For your line graph here, your dots, and you connect the dots. For the bar graph, we have different size bars. They can either go vertically or horizontally. And then for our circle graph, that we have the circle and it's put into different pies for the different amounts or percentages out of our whole.